No matter where you go to volunteer with shelter animals, all they want to do is be loved and spend time with you. There's no person on earth who only wants to love and spend time with you. I don't care who they are. Maybe your mother, but probably not.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community. Episode 27. I'm Harold Ree.
And I'm Nancy Ree. Today's guest is Lauren Hauptman with her dog Ezra.
During the week, Lauren Hauptman offers editorial and creative services, but she dedicates part of her week to volunteering at her local SPCA. She shares some wonderful rescue stories and offers some advice on volunteering. If you want to learn more about Lauren Hauptman, as well as view some terrific photos of Lauren, her husband Jeff, and Ezra, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/27. That's the number 27.
I am a New Yorker who lives in San Francisco with my husband and my rescue dog. I did not know I was a dog person until much later in life when my younger brother adopted a puppy. Her name is Kona, and she's now 10. But when he adopted her, she was a baby. Kona and I bonded. She became the light of my life, taught me what I had been missing, not knowing about animal love. A few years after that, I started volunteering at what was then Pets Unlimited as a dog walker. Pets Unlimited is now the San Francisco SPCA, and I do that every Wednesday. We call it Woofy Wednesday. It is the best thing I have ever done in my life. I get more joy and happiness in 2 hours of walking shelter dogs on a Wednesday than in anything I've ever done.
What's so satisfying about it?
The dogs just want to be loved and give love. You don't meet that you don't get that in a lot of people. You get that in dogs, and they are scared. Knowing that I can help them feel safer and better and get them ready for their forever home is just the best thing I've ever done.
So how long have you been doing this every Wednesday?
At least 5 years.
That's a long commitment.
The only time I don't is if I'm out of town, because I close my office on Wednesdays. I make that the priority.
Wow.
Yeah. I even pay someone else to take Ezra so I can do that.
No kidding. Ezra, your own dog, right? Before we move on to Ezra, when you think back upon your 5 years of volunteering for Pets Unlimited /SPCA, any particular dogs who made an impression on you?
Oh, yeah. There was a big yellow lab named Brazil who there was something about her. And we used to go on a walk and she would stop and spot things in trees that she wanted. Like, for some reason, there was a tennis ball lodged in a tree, and she stopped and she looked up until I went and got her the tennis ball. And when I walk dogs, I will often go sit in the park and just kind of have some snuggle time with them too. And she was just one of these dogs that we really, really bonded. And I was very lucky that I got to meet her family that adopted her. I cried the entire day that she was adopted. You know, of course, I want her to get adopted, but knowing that I wasn't going to see her anymore, it was bittersweet, I guess, happy, but sad.
Right.
And I would run into them very rarely, but occasionally, all of a sudden, I'd feel a dog sniffing at me, and she would come find me from across a park when she was with her family. Yeah, it was really, really awesome.
How does it feel like to be remembered like that after all those years?
I swear to you, my heart just got bigger in my chest. Like, almost like a cartoon heart-thumpy, swelly thing. It's pretty awesome, yeah.
What other dogs have made an impression on you?
There was a little dog, and I actually think she paved the way for us to adopt Ezra. They named her Lady Gaga for no reason whatsoever. And I called her Little Gaga because she was this little dog, this little white dog with some black spots and these crazy ears that stood up. And she had some kind of handicap. So one of her back legs didn't quite work properly. She didn't walk quite right. But this dog was, I don't know, I just fell in love with her. And my husband and I we took her on a field trip to Chrissy Field. And she was one of these dogs that people always would stop you and be like, what kind of dog is that? She was the muddiest mud you can imagine. And she was just a really special dog. And I remember when we came back from the walk to Chrissy Field, because I really wanted to adopt her, and Jeff was not ready. And I thought he would fall in love with her, and that would be that. He liked her. She was fine, but he wasn't ready. And when we got back, there was a really nice couple waiting to meet her and adopt her. And I went home crying. They adopted her, and she had this older brother, and I'm trying to remember his name, named Seymour, like this basset hound. And they sent a video of the two of them laying on a couch, Seymour just licking her face all over. And she was just staring at the camera, smiling the whole time. It was like, clearly that's where she was meant to be.
Moving on to Ezra. Sounds like little Gaga or Lady Gaga maybe had played a small part in this, but how did you end up meeting and living with Ezra?
Interestingly, Ezra, we adopted Ezra from Pets Unlimited, so I met him while I was working there. At the time when dogs first got there, they would need to be in a quarantine area, which they called Dogland, which was downstairs. I had finally convinced Jeff that when we met the right dog, we needed to adopt a dog. The woman who ran the dog section there at the time, her name is Ariana. She now runs the dog program at ACC, and she taught me an incredible amount. And Ezra's name in the shelter was Fry, and she said, you might meet Fry. He seems pretty easygoing. He might be a good dog for you, because neither of us had ever had a dog in our lives. So we were really inexperienced. So we really needed somebody we thought easygoing and that we wouldn't need to know anything. And she said, I really think he'd be okay. So I met him, and it wasn't one of these cases where, we looked at each other and we just knew it was meant to be. He kind of held back a little bit, but there was something about him. He's very unusual looking, and he was wearing a little sweater with a hole in it. I took lots of pictures, and I went home and I showed Jeff, and then he came to meet Ezra. And Ezra, we went out for a walk, and Ezra climbed into Jeff's lap, and Jeff was like, well, that's it. I guess we're his. The interesting thing about Ezra is many dogs have behavioral issues in the shelter because it's very stressful and they don't know what's going on. And then once they get into their home, they calm down and they really settle in. Ezra was the opposite. Ezra, it turns out, is a special needs dog.
Oh.
Our lives were turned upside down by Ezra. All of the things that I promised Jeff that, yes, we'll go out and we'll be able to leave him alone and da-da-da. Well, we can't even leave him alone to get the mail. He has such severe separation anxiety. We've worked with numerous trainers, and we have a veterinary behaviorist who I call his psychiatrist. He's on medication, and he would throw out one crazy at a time. I think we deal with that. He'd be like, okay, they dealt with that. How about this? He just has such severe anxiety.
So is he nipping at your heels as you're walking? How does that look when people see?
He's very protective. If I am holding him, no one can come near us. And that includes Jeff. And if Jeff is holding him, no one can come near them. And that includes me. He's very much about protecting the one that he's with. He's a different dog around the neighborhood than he is off leash at Chrissy Field or at Ocean Beach. He believes he has to protect the neighborhood, especially from big dogs, which we call dinosaurs, because we now look at the world through his eyes, and we figure to him a big dog looks like a dinosaur would look to us. So, and his fear manifests in him barking. He doesn't, it's not him cowering. It's him. He'll go right up to them and tell them they're big by barking in their face. I had little vests made for him that say, please don't touch me, because he does not like to be approached or touched by strangers. Looking at it from his point of view, I'm like, how would you feel if someone stuck their hand in your face without, that you didn't know? I'm like, then you deserve to be bitten, but we're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen. And he also has a big yellow thing that we got for his leash that says, I need space. They see that and they tend to be very respectful and give us space.
What has Ezra taught you, and maybe you and Jeff?
I treat Ezra as my child. It is my job to keep him safe, to try to make him happy. It is my job to make sure his little world is a good one. He and I are really close. Right now, he is laying half on my lap, half on the couch, with his head kind of between my legs. He doesn't know what I'm doing, who I'm talking to. A kind of love that I first learned with Kona. And there's a quote, the very famous quote about how until you know the love of an animal, a part of your soul remains unawakened. That, to me, is the most true thing on the face of the earth. And watching the way that Jeff reacted, because Jeff really didn't want a dog. And in fact, he spent much of his life afraid of dogs because he had been bitten when he was a child and had to have rabies shots and the whole bit.
Oh.
The way that Jeff loves Ezra is amazing as well.
What makes Ezra special?
Ezra is so unusual. He is cute as cute can be. He's really bizarre looking. We call him a Todoodle, which is a terrier, dachshund, poodle. Jeff says he's the breed standard. But there may be some Chinese crested. There could be some dachshund. Like, who knows what's in there? But he is he's funny. And he's very opinionated. If he doesn't like motorcycles or bicycles. He doesn't like people who break traffic rules. He doesn't like runners. He doesn't like hoodies. He doesn't like long shorts on men. He doesn't like sequins. Sometimes there's just no way to distract him, and he just needs to bark it out. And it was very stressful for me for a long time.
How much does Ezra weigh?
Right now weighs about 13 pounds. When we got him, he was a little less than 9. But he has weird growth spurts. Mind you, he's like 5.5. This year, between May and October, he outgrew his very expensive leather collar. And you never know what is going on with him.
If I ask you this question, this dog has taught me blank.
One blank, huh? Patience.
Yeah.
I am not the most patient person in the world. I can't train him. Jeff has to do the training part because training a dog is like watching paint dry. Jeff is very good. I just want to cuddle and hug. And Ezra is not a cuddly dog unless he is specifically in the mood. There's the growl. There's the upper lip curl under. There's the deeper growl. There's the air snap. You have to learn not to push him too far. And I just always want to hug him. And I'm only allowed to hug him if he asks for it.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Yes. One of the really fun things about Ezra is his favorite person in the world is my father.
Wait a second. How does that happen?
We're not 100% sure. My parents are from New York, as am I, and they retired to Arizona. We took him to visit my parents because it was Passover, and we go to the desert for Passover. Ezra and my father bonded. My father's kind of a big guy. He also spends a lot of time sitting in his chair watching TV. That made it very easy for Ezra to protect him. Ezra could just lay on his lap, and the only time my father would get up would be either to go to the bathroom, where Ezra went with him, or go to the kitchen where there were goodies in the refrigerator. The second he sees my father, nobody else in the world exists. Ezra will go in the middle of the night to try to get into my parents' room to check on Grandpa. My father is calmer if Ezra is on him, and Ezra is calmer if he's on my father. And it's just amazing.
What's the first thing folks should do if they're interested in animal rescue?
If people can't have a pet of their own, volunteering, I cannot tell you how much I get out of volunteering. I feel like they should charge me for it because it is the best therapy I've ever had. No matter where you go to volunteer with shelter animals, all they want to do is be loved and spend time with you. There's no person on earth who only wants to love and spend time with you. I don't care who they are. Maybe your mother, but probably not. They need help. They need love. And the more time they spend with people, the more adoptable they become as well. So you really do make a difference. And if you can't have an animal of your own, especially in a city, if your landlord won't allow it or whatever it is such a good way to have animals in your life.
We want to say thanks to Lauren Hauptman for sharing her story and to Jeff and Ezra.
We also want to say thanks to the Facebook group Dog Connect SF Bay Area for connecting us with both Lauren Hauptman as well as Aya Eintracht from episode 10. In a future episode, we'll feature our interview with one of the co-founders of this Facebook group, Natalie Mosbach-Smith. If you want to learn more about today's episode with Lauren, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/27. If you want to find me and Nancy on social media, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Look for This Is Paw Print, one word. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher, along with Podcast Addict, a podcast app for Android phones. We want to say thank you, all of you, for sharing your stories. And we want to welcome listeners in Fort Worth, Texas, Denver, Colorado, and Knoxville, Tennessee. You spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time on Paw Print.
Paw Print is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.
Woohoo!